bien, je vous laisse avec
So I'll
Woody
leave you with Woody Allen and his two
pour une
actresses
conférence de
for
presse
a
autour
press
de son
conference
film, L'homme
around
irrationnel.
on his film Irrational Man.
Bien. While photographers are at it for a few extra seconds, allow me to remind you of the routine. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time so that we can see you, so that the young ladies going up and down there can get the microphone to you. When you have the microphone, please stand up, introduce yourself, ask the question, then sit down and return the mic. Thank you. Juste pour rappeler la routine, si vous avez une question à poser, soyez assez gentil de nous faire signe un petit peu à l'avance, de façon à ce qu'on puisse vous voir, de façon à ce que le micro puisse arriver jusqu'à vous. Quand vous aurez le micro, soyez assez gentil de vous lever, de vous présenter, puis de poser votre question et enfin de vous rasseoir et surtout de rendre le micro d'avance. Merci. OK. Bonjour à tous. Hello everyone. And welcome to the press conference for Irrational Man. Photographers, please sit down. Okay. Introducing the people who are here at this table. My far left, she has been the icon, the goddess of independent films in the United States, Miss Parker Posey. The young lady sitting next to me, I'll just focus on 1 year, 2014. That's the year that Magic in the Moonlight, which she shot and played in under the gentleman sitting next to her's direction. It was also the year of Birdman, and just to throw it in the mix, she also did Sally Bowles on stage in Cabaret. Miss Emma Stone. Finally, I will not insult you all by giving a filmography. This man, he's been coming to Cannes almost as often and as long as I have, Mr. Woody Allen. And the first question goes there.
Hi, good afternoon. Over here. Hi, Baz Bambi Boy from the Daily Mail. Nice to see you. I saw you on Broadway and Sally Bowles. I just wanted to, because this is your second Woody Allen movie, are there plans to do a third? And talk to me about working with Mr. Allen, and are you a proper Miss Marple in real life?
A proper what, is it?
Miss Marple, you know, she's a detective.
Oh, she's a detective. I see. Okay. There are no plans as it stands to do a third, but, you know, wouldn't that be nice? And I don't know if I'm much of a detective in real life, but I'd like to think so. Yes, this was autobiographical. Oh, I mean, I had a wonderful experience working with Woody on both of the films, and as he said, I mean, you don't need to. Woody has a very long and storied history, writing and directing great movies. So it's it's an honor to be a part of two.
Was this the first time you worked with Mr. Allen, Miss Posey?
Yes.
And?
I loved it. You know, I met Woody 20 years ago, I guess, on the movie that Jennifer Tilly did. Someone get that? And the other movie with John Cusack and Mary Louise Parker. So 20 years later, I go in and I meet him in his office, and I'm the right fit for this role. A week before, I was at the Krakow Film Festival in Poland with Juliet Taylor as casting director. So all these things happened that I was able to portray this part, and I really enjoyed the experience. I learned a lot, and I got to work on a Woody Allen movie and play one of his women. I have loved his women and his characterization of women. No one does it like him. So to play someone deep and thoughtful and suffering and funny was a real honor, and I really enjoyed it. My name here says Paker. Paker Posey, which I think is great.
Okay.
Is it same on the other? Oh. I am Paker and Parker. Okay. But yeah, this is my first Woody Allen film. Yep.
Question over there.
Hi, this is Tiago Stivaletti from Wall Brazil. Mr. Woody Allen, I have two short questions. Do you think in a man's life there's a moment where he may choose his irrational side over rationality? Intuition is something that can speak stronger to a man's life. And the other one is, you have made so many films about considering a murdering. Have you ever considered murdered someone? Probably a producer, I don't know. Thank you.
Even as you speak. I do think in everybody's life there are times when there are turning points in your life when you suddenly realize that something momentous can possibly happen if you make a choice. And if you make the right choice, great. In this case, the choice that Joaquin makes is irrational, but it's not so irrational given the comparison with the choices that we all make in our lives. You know, if you look at you know, people need something to. I hear bells. People need something to believe in their lives. They have to choose whether whether life is going to be meaningful for you or meaningless. And people will choose religions in their lives, for example, and they'll make an irrational choice. They'll think that if they live a very good life, they will die and go to heaven and live in heaven for the rest of their life. That's no less crazy a thought than Joaquin thinking that if he commits this act, his life will suddenly turn around for the better. As long as there's something dedicated that you can believe in, you make a choice and you go with it. I don't know if I answered your question there. I was just rambling, but you know, that's the way that I see it.
Sir.
Hi, I'm Mr. Woody Allen, right here in the middle. My name is Fabian Weinthal for Latin America, and I have a question for you. Kate Blanchett is coming to Cannes with another movie, and I wonder if you've seen her since she won the Oscar for your movie, and what is the relationship like with your cast after you make a movie, behind the camera?
It's all very professional. I have not seen or spoken to Kate since that movie. You know, it's very professional. Emma and I did a movie a couple of years ago, and then afterward we did another movie. But you know, people go their separate ways after film, and you know, it's all very, very professional. You come in, you shoot the film, and then the last day of film, everybody is very teary, and you know, you're not going to see the people anymore. But then you go off and you get on with your life. And so I have not seen Kate or spoken with Kate since that picture was over.
Next question. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Iqbal from Daily Pratham, Bangladesh. So my question is to Mr. Woody Allen. Do you think people are really so unfaithful from, you know, like from Match Point to Vicky Cristina Barcelona, like Blue Jasmine, other movies, you know, where your characters are always dealing with the double relationships, and men are fragile and so unfaithful. So you think it's a ethical crisis of this generation, or you just do it for fun or to make your movie more interesting? What do you believe in your personal life.
I didn't understand everything you said. Can you-
Neither did I. But it's there's something about in your character, certainly from Match Point on. I think you mentioned that film. Most of the film that you shot in Europe, there's always a man divided. Am I translating properly what you're saying? Okay. And that leads to drastic actions. Correct so far? So do you think there is a kind of moral crisis, I assume, in society as we know it today, or as you perceive it today?
Well, I don't think it's any different today than any other time. You know, if you pick up the newspapers and read them, in every corner of the world, there are these horrible events going on, laden with moral crises, and this is the way of the world, and it always has been. And all the great literature of the world, whether it's Anna Karenina or War and Peace or The Red and the Black, or, you know, these things are all deal with these kind of moral crises, and very often between men and women, almost always. And this is the stuff of novels and plays and movies, and otherwise it would be pretty dull. That's what you want to. That's what you want to go to the movies or go to the theater to see. You want to see people in moral crises and making agonizing choices, and men cheating on their wives, women having affairs behind their husband's back, and people killing one another. This is everything from Greek theater through Shakespeare, through what you see in today, and that's the conflict that ignites any kind of dramatic action, whether it's in a book or a play or a film.
Sir? Peter?
Peter Howell from the Toronto Star on your right. Question for Woody Allen. Mr. Allen, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. Yes. Yes, if you look closely.
Welcome back to Cannes. Got a quick two-barrel question for you. In all the years you've been making movies, can you tell us what you've learned? And if you had a chance to remake any of your movies, or if you ever wanted to remake any of your movies, which ones would you do?
Well, you do learn stuff, but very little. You learn stuff after the first 2 or 3 movies. You've learned all you're really going to learn. Most of the stuff can't be learned. It's instinctive. So there are a few technical things that you learn about editing and adding music and, you know, little technical things, but you learn them very quickly, and the rest you either rise or fail on the basis of your own talent or your own instinct, and it fails you sometimes, and sometimes it works for you. I would shoot them all over if I could. You know, Charlie Chaplin had the luxury of shooting a whole film all the time, and he could look at it and study it, then shoot it again if he wanted to. Films were not that costly at that time. They had the actors, the money. It was very simple. I can't do that. So when I make a film, I never ever look at it again once I put it out, because if you look at it again, you can always see what you did wrong and how you can improve it and why it's as terrible as it is. So I would shoot them all again. I could very happily take any movie I have and improve it if I could get the cast back and the circumstances exact, roll back time, get the money. I could improve them all after seeing them start to finish up there.
Question over here, go ahead.
Karen Batt, Huffington Post. I very much appreciated this film, and I have a 2-part question about morality. I really liked the last scene on the beach with Emma Stone, where it could seem that she's now the moral stance, that she's but when she says that she's actually titillated by the death she's come close to. It's an amoral stance, so we never get a moral stance in this movie. But that's one question. It's a response to this idea of her on the beach as not the moral ending. And the second question is...
One step at a time,
okay.
then.
That was the first question. You
Yes.
asking me?
Yeah, that was to you.
Well, I do think that you have to be slightly ambiguous about the ending, because you learn what you can learn. She had a lesson in life, and it's nothing that you, as she says in the movie, that you can learn from a book. She learned from having contact with somebody else, from going through a love affair, from idolizing someone who was very, very flawed, but someone who had many good points too, and was able to teach us some things. And she did come very close to dying. And I think everybody learns something from that experience. You don't learn it consciously necessarily, but if you come close, if you've gone through a terrible disease and surmounted it, or if you've had some kind of situation where you were close to death and you didn't die, you do come away with a different perspective on life. And her perspective is not simply, cardboard and one-dimensional. It's, it's moral on some issues and very ambivalent about other issues, and sad about certain things, and she'll have that her whole life. The character will have her whole life thinking about such a traumatic experience that she had with Joaquin, that and her perspectives will change. Things that she thinks she's learned at the end of the movie, when she's in her 40s or 50s or 70s, the perspective will change, and she won't be as hard on herself on certain issues, and she will be much harder on herself on other issues. And so it's very hard to, codify it.
Is it the first time, Emma, that you hear him expand about your character to that extent?
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to. Keep going. What about in her 80s? You didn't mention the 80s.
No, in her 80s, she packs it in.
Got it. I had a feeling.
80s, it's just all face work.
Ma'am?
That's a very life-affirming answer. Thank you. And my second question is, would you throw Kant away completely yourself? Because yes, it doesn't. I teach Kant, so he's obviously not fitting a real world, but it is a nice contingent philosophy, this categorical imperative, to use. No, or
yeah, we would, none of us would think the way we think today if it wasn't for Kant. I mean, the things that he introduced and was kind of right about, that was borne out by science years later, is very interesting. And so I would not throw him away at all. I think he was certainly one of the really major philosophers. The problem with the categorical imperative is that you always try and use it in these trivial life decisions all the time, and it's not so simple as, what if everybody did that? What would the world be like? Because everybody doesn't do it, and you can make decisions that if you invoke a categorical imperative, if strictly, you would have to say, as he said in the movie, if the guy says, where is Anne Frank and her family, you'd have to say, well, they're upstairs in the attic. But the truth is, there are decisions that you make in life where you can't go by it. It's not a reliable thing. You have to, it's more nuanced than that. But I don't think you'd throw Kant away at all. I think, many of the thoughts he had about the way we think and the structure of how we think and the brain are very pertinent and have, as I say, been borne out by many things, by physics over the, and science over the years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Allen, but you've always seemed to be fascinated by philosophy in general throughout your films, to the extent that you sometimes had philosophers appear in the films. One that comes to mind is Crimes and Misdemeanor. Or am I wrong?
Crimes and Misdemeanors? Yeah, what happened in it? I can't...
Wasn't there a philosopher, a guy who taught philosophy that appeared?
Oh, yeah, there was that guy well, he was actually he was a psychoanalyst, but he wrote philosophically in the way that Primo Levi was a psychiatrist, but wrote, psychoanalytically. I was thinking before about, I couldn't recall whether I had read it from Primo Levi or Bruno Bettelheim, but that a number of people who survived in concentration camps survived because they believed in a false thing, and those were the communists. The communists were able to better cope with the stresses of concentration camps because they were dedicated communists and had this economic system that they all believed in fanatically, one that eventually fell apart and did not work. But the fact that it didn't work didn't matter. So this is true apparently, in the Catholic Church or in any religion, that the fact that it doesn't really work doesn't matter. It does make your life better if there is something to believe in. And so even with Joaquin, in the movie, the fact that he suddenly has a reason to live and believes that he's doing a wonderful thing and he's so irrational about what he's doing, it doesn't matter. It's that he is able to have a much better life, misguided as he is.
Question over there.
Hello, this is Paolo Festa from Italy. Mr. Allen, I'm on to your right side. I would like to know if you can give us an update on the TV series you're going to shoot, the Amazon TV series. I quote you. You said, "I'm not sure I went into this. I don't know where to start." Do you know where to start now?
No.
Besides, Kevin Spacey gave you Netflix. Did you get hooked on some TV series?
No, it was a catastrophic mistake for me. I'm doing my best with it. I'm struggling with it at home, but I never should have gotten into it. And it's very hard for me. I thought it was going to be easy. You do a movie, it's a big, long thing. But, to do 6 half hours, I figured it would be a cinch. I'd do a half hour, another half hour, like that. But it's not. It's very, very hard. And I just hope I don't disappoint Amazon. I am struggling with it. I'm not good at it. I don't watch I don't watch any of those television series, really, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm floundering. I expect this to be a cosmic embarrassment when it comes out.
Question over there.
Woody, Jason Solomons from the BBC in London. Now that we're in France, the birthplace of existentialism and cinema, can you talk a bit about the way that making films has helped you deal with the big questions in life?
Making films
as a way to deal with the big things in life.
Making films has...
As a way to deal with the big questions in life.
Has it erased the big questions?
No.
How
has it helped you deal with the big questions in life?
Making films, there's no positive answer to the grim reality of life. No matter how much the philosophers talk to you, or the priests, or the psychiatrists, or, the bottom line after all the talk is life has its own agenda and it runs right over you while you're prattling. And so we're all going to wind up in a very bad position one day, sooner or later. The same position, but a bad one. And the only way out of it, the only thing you can think of as an artist is to try and come up with something that will, where you can explain to people why life is worth living and is a positive thing and does have some meaning. Now, you can't really do that without conning them, without, you can't be honest and do that, because in the end, it has no meaning. You're living in a random universe, and you're living a meaningless life. And again, everything you create in your life or do is going to vanish, and the earth will vanish, and the sun's burning out, and the universe will be gone, and it's over. And everything that Shakespeare did, or or Michelangelo, or Beethoven, it'll all be gone one day, no matter how much we cherish it. So it's very hard to sell someone a bill of goods that there's any good to this. Therefore, my conclusion is that the only possible way you can beat it a little bit is through distraction. You can distract people. So if you turn on a baseball game, or if you watch a Fred Astaire movie, or if you do something that distracts you. Now, what distracts me is I'm thinking, oh God, can I get Emma and Parker to do this scene right? Like it really means something in life. It doesn't. It's a trivial problem. I'll solve it. If I don't solve it, so it'll be a bad movie, but I won't die. So that's what I do. I distract myself, and making movies is a wonderful distraction. These actresses come in and they're worried about their part and their character and how they're going to do it. And that's what they're thinking of. If they weren't doing that, they'd be home or sitting on a beach or something, and they'd be thinking, my God, what is life about? I'm going to get old, I'm going to die, my loved ones are going to die. Will I get Ebola? I mean, what is going to happen to me? So the only thing you can do in life is distract yourself so you have some moments when you're not facing reality. Because all the great thinkers, Freud, Nietzsche, Eugene O'Neill, all felt that too much reality was too much to bear, which is a very grim thing to think about, that you have to keep pushing away reality. So that's what happens. You have to distract yourself. So I go into a movie house, and I watch Fred Astaire dance for an hour and a half, and I'm not thinking about my death, the decaying of my body, that I will be old one day in the very distant future, and that's it. And then I come out of the movie house, and I'm struck by the problems of, hitting the face with reality again. So that's the most you can do. And movie making, is a nice thing to keep you busy. It's like they give the inmates in an institution basket weaving or something. It keeps you occupied.
Question here? Yes?
Hi, it's Rodrigo Fonseca from TV Globo Brasil. Question to Mr. Allen. Could you please tell us a few words about your partnership with the cinematographer Darius Conde? What's the importance of Darius to your recent films?
Darius, yeah, your work with Darius.
Well, movies are, I always felt this right from the start, obviously film up on the screen, and you want to work with great cinematographers, and I have all my life worked with great cinematographers. I worked for 10 years with Gordon Willis, and for 10 or 13 years with Carlo De Palma, and I worked with Vilmos Zsigmond and Sven Nykvist, and I mean, I've worked with, and Darius is a great cinematographer. He's one of the great cinematographers in the world today. So it's an honor for me and a pleasure for me to work with him. It's very important because what you see on the screen is what the cinematographer is photographing. They have to know how to do all that stuff. So when you're seeing it, whether you're conscious of it or not, it's having a very profound effect on you. And Darius, as I say, is one of the great ones in the world today.
I have a question that now, sorry guys, I'm going on a tangent here, but I have a question for both actresses. That we have seen very little, if any, footage of Woody Allen shooting a film on the set. We have no idea what it's like. So what is it like? Do you have a lot of discussion? Does he sort of say, go in a corner with your partner and come up with a proposition? How does it work on a day-to-day work?
I mean, I think it depends. In my experience, you're kind of able to, try out what you're doing, and if you're not doing it in the way that he's envisioned it or that he's written it, then he steps in and he's, very clear about his perspective of, what needs to happen in the scene and how the scene needs to move, and if you need to reshoot it on a different day, you reshoot it as you're going. There's not a lot of rehearsal. There's not a table read at the beginning. You kind of find your rhythm and your tone as the movie goes on. But it happens very quickly, which is really nice. There's really no overthinking, and I mean that was my experience. Although I do remember there was a day on Magic in the Moonlight where a bunch of actors were gathered around and they were talking about the character's last name. Do you remember? Taplinger or Taplinger?
Yeah.
His last name.
Nonsense
Yeah. Yeah. But Woody came up and he said, this is a movie, right? They're trying to figure out if this is going to make sense in the movie, and it's just, it's a movie. So there's not too much thinking to do. It's just a story.
Parker?
Yeah, there's so few real auteur directors that you get to work with in an actor's career. So to have that trust, from the get-go, I had a particular experience with this because I was only given 20 pages of my character's scenes. So I didn't know what was the movie, what tone the movie was, and what it was about, and what the other characters were doing. So, he gives the actor a lot of space to find the real of the scene and of the film. So, to effortlessly kind of, have that kind of cushion and that kind of trust was great. And he moves very fast. I thought a lot about jazz, because he's such a jazz enthusiast. I'm from the South. And just like you want it to be easy and you want it to be dynamic. And that's why I love his films so much, is they encompass lots of different qualities in human characters. So yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Sorry. I don't say this because the actresses are here, because I've said this many times before. The trick is, and it sounds facetious sometimes, but it's not. You hire great people, great actors and actresses, and then you get out of their way. You don't play the director. You don't hover over them. You let them change your lines. You let them make up their own contributions and do things, because the people that I've worked with have had careers and are famous and are great before they met me, and they're great in my movies, and they're great after they leave me. So nothing special is happening. If you just hire wonderful people, that's all you have to do, and just don't mess them up. Don't ruin them. And, it's really a very simple thing. Then you get credit for directing them, and everyone says, well, you did such a great job. But it isn't. You're just not screwing them up, that's all.
Sir?
Hi, Woody. Vincent Dowd, BBC World Service Radio, London. You mentioned a few minutes ago about the changing perspectives which come with age. As you know, you'll hit 80 later in this year. Is it the case that when a real writer, a proper writer, hits a certain age, I don't know, early 60s, 65, do they almost inevitably become more serious? I mean, were you aware of that process yourself?
It was not true in my case. I had always wanted to be a serious filmmaker. My idol was always Ingmar Bergman, and I always wanted to be a serious filmmaker. I had to be a comic filmmaker because that's where my gifts were, and no one would give me any money to make a serious film. They wanted me to be funny, and it was something I was able to do. But I haven't gotten any more serious. I was ponderously serious at a young age. I was boring to be with when I was young, and was always very serious then. And if I had had my way and could have, I would have made one very heavy movie after another my whole life, and would not have worked in comedy except very sparingly. So that was not something of age. That was something, in my case, that was with me my entire life.
We'll take the last two questions. There's one here, and then there's one here, and that's it. Go ahead.
Mario from Brazil. I want to ask for Emma, what's more difficult, to do a superhero film or work with Woody? And for Woody, when are you going to come to Rio de Janeiro and use the city as a scenario to make a film?
They really want you to come to Rio. They really want you to go to Rio. To do a superhero movie, probably because Woody's locations are all practical and not on a green screen, for the most part. There are a couple green screen days. When are you going to go to Rio?
Yeah, I have no. I've never been to Rio, so I don't know. I don't have an idea for Rio. You know, when I worked in Rome and Paris and the places I worked in abroad, I had been to these cities and had some concept about them. And so when I was sitting home in my room and thinking about Barcelona or thinking about London, I knew what I was doing. But I've never been to Brazil. I've never been to, so I wouldn't know exactly where to begin to come up with a story. But if something hit me and I thought, hey, this is perfect for Brazil, I'd be there. I mean,
last question.
Yes, my name is Rodrigo González from La Tercera newspaper in Chile. Two questions, one to Mr.
No, make it one.
One question was, well, anyway, what did Mr. Woody Allen find in Emma Stone like an actress, in terms of an actress, considering that he's a very, in between many things, is a great director for actresses, and if she remember in some ways Diane Keaton or Mia Farrow in his previous movies, capable to portray his neurosis and his anxieties.
I think I heard the question, but I'm not sure.
I heard it too, but I didn't understand it.
It was hard. I can only say this about Emma. I met Emma before I ever worked with her. She came into our office and we chatted for a few minutes. I saw her by accident once in a movie. I was on my treadmill exercising and looking for something to distract me, and then I saw Emma, and she looked beautiful. And I thought, and then she was very funny in the movie. And I thought to myself, this is someone who would be very interesting to work with. And I worked with her in that first movie, and she was great, absolutely great, lived up to all the hype. She was beautiful, she was funny, she was a terrific actress. And so I had no problem thinking of her for Irrational Man. She's the first thing I thought of. It would be a natural. I'm thinking of a college student. The college student is beautiful, she's intelligent. Who can I get for this? Well, Emma comes to mind immediately, and I had just worked with her. So I hired her, and I was hoping, I'd never seen her do anything dramatic before. It was all light and comic stuff, which she did brilliantly. And and I've told her this, she amazed me. She acted the role so far beyond what I could have expected. I knew she'd be good, but I didn't realize how good she was. I didn't realize what a deep, wonderful, professional actress she was. She was amazing. So I've had only, a good time with her. Parker, I had always wanted to work with Parker Posey because I like the name Parker Posey. And I had seen her in movies, all these offbeat movies. She was always great. And I thought, will I ever get to go to the set and say, where is Parker Posey? And then I got an opportunity to work with her, and she came through, obviously, in spades.
And the rest is to be seen on screen. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh my goodness.
I can't do it. I can't do this.
Thank you very much.
All right. Sorry, guys, we're really, really late now.
No, I gotta go.
We gotta go. It's my fault. I'm sorry.